All right. Well, we'll call the meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Zachary Hilton.
Here.
Chad Reeder.
Here.
Patrick Flott.
Here. Is this?
Here. Lionel Gonzalez.
Here.
Sean Reed. Here.
Commission Secretary's report on posting of the agenda.
Tonight's agenda for the bicycle pedestrian regular meeting was posted on Friday, January 18, 2019 at 9:46 a.m.
Ceremonial items, we have none this month. Next up is presentations of the commission. This is a public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission. Anybody? No, not tonight? Okay.
Sure.
The VTA, next up is the VTA Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee report from Carolyn, and there is none. I think she might be showing up later, so maybe we'll just wait until the end of the meeting to review that if we need to. Next up is the consent calendar, and Patrick, are you familiar with how a consent calendar works?
Fill me in, please.
So a consent calendar is basically a way for, with one vote, a motion and a second, to be able to approve all of these documents right here. So most all of these documents right here have either been previously discussed or previously happened, like the minutes, and we put them in here for quickness, just for smoothness. If that does not mean that none of them can be pulled. So the reason why they're labeled like that is any one of us could say, hey, I want to pull, consent calendar 7F, and then so you pull that, put it off to the side, and then what you would do is, if everybody agrees on the other ones, someone would state a motion to accept all the other ones, and then we would go back and review that. We would say, okay, public bike fund, what do you want to discuss?
Right.
And it doesn't mean that it can't pass that night, it just means that it's discussed.
I'm familiar with this. I've been on some boards of HOAs, and the process is very familiar, even if it's more formal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's normal practice too for minutes of a meeting that you were not here to be able to, we could pull that one, and since you were not here, and then that way you don't get a vote on it. You wouldn't say, oh, I approve those because you weren't here. So if someone was absent, they would just say, I just want to recuse myself from the minutes of the last meeting because I was absent.
Sure.
And that's it.
Okay.
So we can pull item A for you. And I don't think we have the public bike fund balance
Good,
sheet.
because I couldn't find it. I could do a public, or I could do a verbal.
Okay.
A verbal update on that one.
Okay. So what should we do? Should we just pull it? It's not like there's no necessarily vote on it.
action.
There's no action on it.
We
Okay.
we can pull the
For
item.
informational
If there's no action, we can pull the item and essentially in staff comments, Gary can give the.
Okay. So let's pull item A and item F. And then so I just need a motion for the consent calendar to approve items B, C, D, E, and G.
I'll make a motion to remove A, was it? F?
B, C, D, E, and G.
Oh, to approve
Yeah.
B, C, D, E, and G.
And we need a second.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then so for the consent calendar, item A, so we pulled that because Patrick was not here. So I just need a motion to approve item A.
I'll motion to approve item
I'll second it. All in favor?
A. Aye.
Aye.
So all in favor, aye, except for Patrick, who was recused himself from that. And then Gary, I'll let you talk about item F.
So we really tried hard this month to get a summary, and we intend to provide a budgetary summary on the BPAC commission donation funds for each month. At this point, according to the research we've done, there's a balance of $590 in the account. There's $273 in one account. For some reason, there's a second account with $317 in the account. And so we're trying to figure out why they're in separate accounts. Should be in one account. And so we'll put that together, have it in a single spreadsheet, and have that as part of the meeting agenda for next month.
Okay.
So right now, though, there is $590 in the account.
Okay.
And that concludes my presentation.
Gary, can you repeat the amounts for each account? Yet I heard 273 and one was the other.
You can keep that one.
All right, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions on the public bike fund, or Patrick,
Do you need
with
that
what
one?
it is?
Do you need that into the record verbally, or is that okay for your
No, this
minutes?
isn't at the end.
Yes, could you
Can you explain it?
Yeah, please.
So last year we started a decal program on the downtown bicycle racks that are down there.
Right.
So you see there's like the nice little nameplate that's below there. So what we did is for $350, someone can donate to get their name, either a personal name or a business name on there, and then that lasts for 5 years. And basically all of them started last year for 5 years. So I have a copy of it, staff has a copy of it, and in the next 5 years, those people will be contacted, given first rights to continue it, or to give it up, or to move to a new location.
How is this managed right now? Do we just have an Excel spreadsheet? that we're
Yep.
using?
Yep.
Do we plan on keeping the pricing the same
For right now.
for right now?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it can't be changed in the
Right,
future.
right.
The only expenses that come with it is it's around $27 to $28 for the actual decal.
That's not bad.
And it's from a downtown company, and it's like a brushed aluminum. It's got this nice sort of like
I've seen it.
vinyl covering over top of it. So if something were to happen or it get taken off, it's easily replaced. And that's the purpose of the fund too.
Awesome. So who's stewarding the funds right now?
So the city manages it.
Okay.
If you let's say you go out there and you're at a meeting and someone says, "Hey, tell me more about the decal program. How do I do it?" There's an application that's on our website you can direct them to, and when it comes to writing the check, you could either bring it in here and give it to Gary, or drop it off at the counter to Gary, but use Gary as the first resource, and then he'll keep that track. The flow of the funds.
Fantastic. And you said the website. Would that be the city website for this committee?
Yeah.
Have
So
you considered making another website that sort of broadcasts what we're doing on a more wider level? Or is that not allowed?
That is not permitted. The city has to manage their own websites.
yeah.
Okay.
So whatever, and it took us a while on that website to be able to make it kind of like I call it sort of my own personal library, because a lot of that stuff in there we could not find 2 years ago when me and Chad started. And so it serves as a library for us. It serves a library for when you're meeting other people. I hope that it's a good library for staff to go, where's our complete streets policy? I know it's on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So everything gets directed back through there.
So would this be the first initiative we've done that takes in funds that the city now stewards?
Yes.
We have,
I
For
don't know.
bike bed.
Just,
just
as
curious.
we know, because I think I'm trying to think who was the commissioner who left two years ago. What's his
Tony?
name? Tony said they did Garlic Festival hours, and supposedly money went somewhere, and they can never. Maybe that's why there's two accounts. Maybe one's the Garlic Festival money.
Oh yeah.
But so I'm just saying, I'm not sure. I think there was other people were looking to do other things.
Because if you volunteer at the Garlic Festival, then those hours can get donated back to an organization.
Yeah, I've done the whole volunteering thing there.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that happened.
Yeah.
So I think there's been other ways money is.
Okay.
So that's where we can get funding for public bike projects
Right.
that can be brought up if they're properly agendized beforehand.
Mhm.
Like if you see a business and let's just say they have a lot of needs for a bike rack, and we can source a bike rack for like $75 or whatever,
Yeah.
bring it to us and we can get it agendized and we can all talk about it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first ambitious project of hopefully many. Thanks for bringing this to me.
Sure. All right. Do we need a motion to accept that balance sheet?
Is it
Or can we just not? Can we just let it go until next time?
No, there's no motion necessary.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to know? Okay. All right, next up is old business. This is the General Plan Advisory Committee update.
So, again, I appear to have a broken mic. What's going on? Do we have any, when is the next GPAC? Last update I got was, Gary, I don't know if you're familiar, but last update I got was an email saying it's indefinitely not, they had to do some stuff with City Council. I have no idea. I don't think that's happened, and it's been very quiet. It sounds like it's going to be a while before there's going to be another GPAC.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything scheduled as far as I know. There was still some land use discussion items that needed to take place. I believe those have taken place, or the council has at least given some preliminary direction, but there's been no formal scheduling of the next GPAC.
So we just don't have an idea when we think the next GPAC meeting will be. So it might be some time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'll try to remember to reach out to the general
Stan.
manager.
Stan.
Yeah, Stan. All right. Thank you.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Anything else that anybody wants to report? No? All right, next item. Bicycle Pedestrian Commission Monthly Award Nomination.
Yeah, so I don't have one this time, but just to bring everyone up to speed is we, trying every month to have some type of recognize somebody in the community. I think it started the Arts Commission, the Parks Commission was doing it, and we're like, yeah, that's a good idea, and so we brought it here too. So trying to nominate people, good examples like crossing guards. We did nominate a couple crossing guards, students who helped out with Safe Routes to School. So we're just looking for anything we can to just get some recognition out there from people in the community who are doing something good for bikes or pedestrians or something to help mobility around the city of Gilroy. They also get their picture taken with us, which is probably worth.
That's absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of value.
And it goes on the website for 30 days.
Yeah, so, and they get an award and everything. I don't have a recommendation right now. I don't know if anybody else.
Does anyone else have one?
Somebody
I have one. No.
better.
Christine Vasquez, principal of Glenview Elementary. She has really done a great job getting the Safe Routes to School program to grow at her school. This school in high need. She's kind of gone above and beyond by arranging for herself or staff at the school to donate bikes to students every month. And there was a big event in October when the school district celebrated what's going on at that school, and with help from public health, and they gave 3 bikes away that month.
Awesome. Gets my vote.
Anyone else have one for February?
Unfortunately, I do not at this time, but I will definitely bring something every month if I can.
Okay. There's a form that that's on the city's website too, on our page, that someone could actually write it out if they wanted to write it out too. Okay. Well, thumbs up for me for that principal from Glenview. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
For me.
There we go.
Excellent.
Any members from the public that wish to comment?
Oh, one person.
All right. Next up is Safe Routes to School update. Commissioner Sean Reedy.
The main update is that we had our Safe Routes to School task force meeting last month. Just some background, public health has a large grant that they've been devoting to get Safe Routes to School going strong in Gilroy, and as part of that, we formed a task force so that all the different stakeholders involved can meet periodically to discuss, collaborate around different items that need to get accomplished, and we have an action plan. At this particular meeting, we have a lot of updates from our executive police department. One update from him was that we'd like to continue providing the 5th grade in-class education at the elementary schools. So we're going to help make sure he gets connected with the principals on trying to get that scheduled. He thinks he can continue providing that in future years as part of his OTS grant that he gets. Actually, I think it might have been part of a DARE program that's no longer running, but they still can do the bicycle pedestrian education piece. Naran Fan attended from engineering. He had a lot of updates that were really helpful. School district appreciated hearing different things that people were talking around schools, and got to share some areas that they see as needing attention in the future, like near Solar's Auto with all the developments going in there. One thing that I'll report on was all the stuff happening near South Valley Middle School on IOF and Gilroy Prep School there. He and Sergeant Stanford worked together with some planners to really get a good plan to improve the drop-off situation at those schools. One thing that we don't necessarily didn't answer tonight, but came to my mind that I did not ask at that point was public health had offered they could have someone provide a training for us to potentially get community members or students involved in like doing some kind of project at schools. That could be an area where maybe we could get training in public health funding to maybe do something with like a decorative crosswalk or something, but we wouldn't want to do anything without working closely with the engineers in the city and having their approval and anything, keeping workload off of us on off of them on any project like that. Gary, do you have any thoughts on that now, or?
With regards to
With regards to if you'd be open to public health providing funding and training for a project like that?
I'm all for coordinating and collaborating, especially public health. They've got a lot of good resources. So yeah, I would definitely support that.
Okay. I will let them know that we can look at doing that. We have penciled in at the next meeting, April 24th at 10. And we'll get invites up for that. One thing that needs to keep being followed up on is the Elliott and Alexander Station situation with how kids are going to be walking and biking to school there. We're still working on it. There's going to be mapping updates with the maps that are getting made for all the schools in Gilroy. The first round, all the elementary schools had parents and students had a chance to get feedback about how they get to school and what the best routes are and what they notice about different routes around the school. And also planning inside is making nice official maps that every school can have and that can be given out. There's going to be another round where it's more regional, where several different groups from several different schools can get together at like perhaps a middle school and plan stuff that might fall outside the immediate school neighborhood to address issues that might be more cross-town routes. Next meeting, we'll also need to go over any items from the action plan that got made last year. We're going to start meeting these items that need to be collaborated on together by different groups, and we'll check on what those are. Oh, one more update. The Public Health Department applied for an ATP grant for Gilroy and to continue some safer school projects and some community projects. They did not get funded via the first round of the state looking at that, but they scored well enough that they might be able to get funding when it gets looked at regionally, and they should have an update probably by March or April on that. That's all.
Did you mention the workshop, the Safe Routes to School Parent Workshop at Wheeler?
No.
All I know is that was possibly scheduled for March 7th. I remember I picked that up at the task force meeting. So that would be a coordinator position for any of the elementary schools that has a Safe Routes to School parent coordinator. They can go to those meetings and meet other people that are doing it, but get training from the public health department on how to either continue, support, or run the parent coordinator position for those schools. And that's open to anybody in the public. I don't know the time. It was just kind of thrown out there, March 7th, so there'll probably be more updates coming out soon.
Yeah, we should be able to get an update for that out at our next meeting in February. And we'll send out, advertise for people, because the program at the individual school sites largely depends on parent volunteers. One more thing I thought of. We're also looking at Sergeant Stanford's interested in doing like a bike rodeo kind of activity at the Turning Wheels event that's going to be at the library this spring. So Zach and I were looking at working with him and the contact person at the library to make sure BPAC and Gilroy Police Department are involved in the Turning Wheels event that's going to happen there. We're going to see if we can get it to coincide with Bike Month, but it's not It's not all scheduled yet.
Anybody else have anything they want to add?
So at the end of B, there's a mention of confusion between SRTS-related activities and bicycle and pedestrian commission advocacy. What specifically was that?
Where are you looking at?
I
On the
know what
minutes?
you're talking about. I think last meeting I just mentioned that the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission has been providing safe routes to school reports on developments that happen around the schools. But there was one example where an issue came up for us. We recommended like a gate or something behind a development a couple of years ago. That's what the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission recommended, and then it started coming forth as those plans move forward to go to Planning Commission and City Council. And I just was making clear that that's kind of a bicycle pedestrian advocacy thing in general. It wasn't only to serve a particular elementary school.
Okay, this is clarification there.
Yeah.
And you can find those on the website as well.
Yeah, I'm slowly coming through every single thing you guys have done, so good job so far.
So just like he had mentioned, there's 2 projects that we provided input on, and both those projects were approved. One was approved in December. That was called the patio project on First and Kelton, and the other one that was approved on January 7th at City Council, and that address is the 8955 Monterey Road project. I was going to update that later, but I'll update that now. And yeah, anybody else have anything they want to update on Safe Process School? No? Any members from the public that wish to comment? Seeing none. All right, so that was just a receive, update, and comment. Next up is new business. So every January, we elect a Bicycle Pedestrian Commission chairperson and vice chairperson. And in the past, it was and I talked about this with Gary, and maybe you can provide some input. Bless you. We had, in the past, it had been sort of like we just all got here, and people just threw their name in the hat, or someone would say, hey, you should be chair, you should be vice chair. But another way that we could do it, if I don't know if we got a buyout or we need it or not, is basically to choose to do it in February, and those that want to take those positions provide just a short paragraph as to why. So then all of us can come back, and then we'll know who wants to put their name in the hat for those positions and a short reason why. And then at that point you can make a motion, or obviously if there's only one person that wants to run for vice and one person runs for chair, then at that point, you basically just make a motion. So it's up to us as a body to choose whether we want to do that tonight and just pick somebody, or whether we want to come back next time and do it that way.
That again is
Do we get it?
assuming that there's multiple people that want to be the chair and multiple people that want to be the vice chair.
Exactly.
And you guys are
If
going
there's
to argue
anybody,
over it.
then
and
we
then
have
you
to
guys
like arm
can-
wrestle.
Exactly. If everybody wants the other way.
Oh, flip of a coin, man. I'll live.
I'll have to defer to your judgment here.
All right.
Draw
Obviously
straws.
older than myself. I could do a paragraph extolling my virtues, but I'm still very new to this commission. You seem to be doing a fantastic job as the chair currently, so I would put your hat in the ring for myself.
I have no. It's fine as well, but you're doing a good job being chairman. You should, in my opinion, you should just be chair at least another year.
So should we just do this tonight, or should,
Yes.
okay? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make a whole other process either.
Check back with me in 3 years.
We can write that now for 3 years from down the road.
What is a word called out of commission?
Yeah, I'll accept the nomination. If that was an official nomination
I'm
for
not-
chair,
I'm nominating. I will absolutely nominate.
I'll accept that one.
Yeah, I nominate.
Yeah.
All right. So, all in favor?
Dude.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
So for vice chair, I had somebody in mind, and that'd be Sean Reedy for this year. And here's the reasons why. every year we all kind of adjust our schedules. Some can do a lot more, some can't. But Sean has really stepped up over the last year and has the time off as I do during the day when a lot of the important meetings are happening.
Absolutely.
And it's his last year, if he so chooses to be on the commission.
No.
This is his 4th year. And you know, and he's done a lot on Safe Routes to School, and so that's one of the reasons why I'd like to put that nomination in his lap if he accepts.
I'd like to second. He doesn't get a choice to accept. But I agree, because when we started, we came here 2 years ago. Zach and I came on at the same time. The commission seemed kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a lot of, and Sean is the silent giant over there, whopping 6'4", whatever, 6'5". And he was kind of timid at first, and literally, you're right, at Safe Routes to School, you have everything. You're going to all the meetings, you're meeting with the county, everything. I absolutely, you really stepped up your game, so you should absolutely be vice chair. And then you can run the meetings when Zach's in.
All right. Well, that seems to be unanimous. So,
You got to let him accept the nomination first.
yeah, he's so quiet.
I can continue with what I've been doing for last year for now, and I would be comfortable being vice chair. And then, I have a year to figure out if I come back.
Just might entice you with the double salary. Double salary for the vice chair.
Oh yeah, put it in with Gary.
Double double.
Thanks, Gary.
We all get paid so much overtime here.
All right. Well, all in favor for Sean as vice chair?
I second. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next up is bicycle-friendly community sign catalog. So I had asked that we bring this item up because, as many of you, if you don't know, we were recognized by the League of American Bicyclists as a bicycle-friendly community. We got the bronze level, and with that, there's the option of being able to purchase a couple of like metal decal signs to kind of show off that, let the public know, let employees know, let visitors know, residents, everybody that, what we are. And so, so I'll let Gary can tell us like how many I don't know, if you want us to tell us how many we can have, or just kind of throw out some locations that we as the, experts in riding and walking those streets all the time on where we think that it would capture the most, without being obviously littered all over the city. That's not the intention. You guys have what the prices are. I don't know, how do you want to, what's easiest for you?
So from staff's perspective, I think that we certainly don't want to litter the community with these. But I think it's important to have these at some key locations, at entry points to the city or major bike facilities for the city. So with that regard, the question becomes, how do we pay for these signs?
Mm-hmm.
And I think based on our report this evening, there's some
$500.
Exactly.
for some of these.
Yeah.
If you so choose to use those funds as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to for bike parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes really what size. I would recommend something that's visible, maybe the 18 by 18. I wouldn't go to the 12 by 12. That seems pretty small. And then maybe identify a handful of locations, and we can go out and evaluate and then report back next month.
Okay. So as you all know too, we just got those nice wayfinding signs. And so in my mind, that was sort of the initial, that'd be the perfect place because it's an asset of the city already. There doesn't need to be an installation of a new post or anything like that. And I think that I can think of one on Santa Teresa and Day that's a big thoroughfare for riders that come in from out of county. Specialized group, San Jose Bike Club rides through there. Tierra Bella, ACTC, all those guys ride through there. And so I think that there's one of those four slots, Gilroy. And looking at them today, it looks like I'm pretty sure that Public Works can figure out a way to drill a couple holes and strap it on one of those posts to make it look pleasing.
The only issue would be that Santa Teresa is a county expressway.
Yeah.
We might need to get permits from them to install a sign.
Okay.
So we can check into that. So that's one potential location, Santa Teresa at Day. Are there others?
Yeah, you have to put something on the levee somewhere. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure.
Yeah.
You can just scout out a couple areas. I mean, somewhere an entrance onto the levee. I don't know if it's Miller or if it's, probably. I don't know, one of the most.
So there is a doggy dispenser that's got like signs of like the I think it's at Miller and the levee crossing where I think it actually has like park rules, like you can only be here between certain hours. There's a doggy dispenser on there and a post, and I believe the post is like facing the levee, so it's not like if you put one there, you'd get traffic both ways.
Yeah, I've been there before.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And Garlic Festival's right there, and they do the bike parking valet right there.
Would we also consider one in the downtown area as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think so.
Right, like around 4th Street, where you're just entering into the downtown block.
Yeah, either somewhere around there, or there is a wayfinding sign that's right before 6th, and there's actually one at 5th in Monterey, which is right where the Fix-It station is located too.
Yeah.
That could work.
I'm all for downtown. I think that we should really put it somewhere, as long as it's facing a way that you're not on Monterey, because Monterey is not a bicycle-friendly road at
It
all.
isn't.
And so I want to be like, hey, bicycle-friendly community, and like, wait, you're going to ride down Monterey. So
Yeah.
maybe on 6th Street or 4th Street, somewhere that has a bike, either some signage or bike share.
So the question becomes, do you want to sprinkle these within the community, or do you want to identify
Be nice.
and
Oh,
sing our
yeah.
praises as you enter
Good point.
into the community?
Good point.
Yeah.
Because once you're in the city, but entering into the city, I think would have more bang for the buck.
So if you would put something as you're coming off of 101s at a state, the signs say, welcome to Gilroy sort of thing, so you would have to ask for the state's permission right there.
So maybe coming off of the freeway, coming onto 10th into the city in the westbound direction, something like that.
Something like that.
Or something.
I don't know if there's
First.
a welcome sign there, but there is one at Leavesley.
Yeah.
We could do one at Leavesley. We could do one where it says, is it Old Gilroy? Is there a sign or so there? Anyways, there are a couple spots, major entries off the freeway out into the city. So we can take a look at some of
Nice
those.
somewhere.
If we were to do one near downtown, what about on 6th Street? There's a wayfinding sign that's right on the corner of Eagleberry and 6th. Oh, I'm sorry,
By
at
the
Church and
DFW.
6th. That shows like Gilroy Libraries this way, and I think it might say like Civic Center this way.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
then
more
that's on a bike
informational
route.
than directional, because obviously it's not bicycle friendly down there. I wouldn't bicycle down there. I scooter down there, and you have no choice but to go on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So probably strictly informational and kind of a look at what we're trying to achieve kind of statement.
And then what about coming from on Santa Teresa the other direction? Because that's going to have on Thomas and Santa Teresa, that'll eventually have that bike ped path that that starts
we could
there.
Probably revisit.
Yeah.
A lot of that area is really heavily under construction.
Mhm.
So as that develops, we
Mhm.
can make more prudent decision.
Okay. Can you guys think of any other spots?
Well, the ironic thing is most of the places that are actually interested in the city are on streets that are not very bicycle
Bike-friendly.
friendly.
Yeah.
Other than
Yeah.
Santa Teresa.
Yeah.
Santa Teresa County.
But the Santa Teresa one is a good one, the first one you mentioned.
I know that you would get
Hopefully-
riders.
Well, hopefully First Street eventually becomes pretty darn bike friendly after state gets done with it. So
That's what I've heard from Gary.
Those are fingers.
What about that city? It obviously wouldn't be for right now, but that City of Gilroy welcome sign that's supposed to be there near that trailhead. That would be a good one to have eventually. There's going to be a trailhead built at the corner of First Street and Santa Teresa
Oh, really?
that'll connect to the bike ped path. That'll loop around and go down the sports park. It's going to have benches, a couple racks, water.
So that
water
whole
fountain.
area at the end of Santa Teresa and First is going to be a new redevelopment where they're putting it's like a mixed commercial use residential.
that's on the other side of the street.
Other side of the street. So
Yeah.
you're talking about
We're
direct.
talking about on the west side.
Southwest quadrant of the intersection. They're right at the core of the city, owns a parcel, and we're going to create various names for it: Trailhead Park, Staging Area Park. But it'll be an area where there's some benches, a bike fix-it station, some lighting, bike racks for kind of folks to meet and gather, and then they can do the loop around the entire.
I think that'd be a fantastic place to put that once that comes in fruition.
Especially since they're going to build the shops down the street where that's for bike parking and stuff. So yeah, I think it'd be a good spot for it.
Should we do? Like, do you think a lot of people access just the Santa Teresa and 3rd Street bike path? area as opposed to just being down on the levee? Like, should there be 2 locations?
Yes.
Because if so, there's a lot of neighborhoods up on
It's all new neighborhoods.
3rd Street. And there is another doggy bag thing as you go onto that bike path.
We also
What do
want to
you think?
reserve some, means of this being prestigious, so
Mhm.
over sprinkle. I'd say let's start off with like 2 or 3 in some key spots, and as this city continues to grow and redevelop, let's reevaluate that.
Let me do this. I've got a handful of locations right now. Let's take a look from a staff perspective and
Okay.
bring you back a recommendation next time.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then, if you want to talk about cost too, and I know I would be open to using a portion of that, the public bike fund, either, doing it now, or like you said, maybe what we could do is we could say that at the end of this year, there's going to be a whole lot more infrastructure out there than there is today.
Yeah.
So maybe we could reserve, like we could say that we want to put one using our funds, and we will look at it maybe after all the infrastructure is finished.
So I have a question. I don't have the pricing in front of me. What is an 18 by 18? What is that?
$75.
75?
Yeah,
What's the material?
good question.
Metal, isn't
It
it?
seems very cheap to me.
Probably.
Yeah, it doesn't say. But I've seen one in another community. It's metal. It just says metal.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it has any reflective value. At $75, I would hope that it has some reflective value.
I would seriously doubt it.
You don't think so?
It's powder. It's probably just powder.
Powder coated metal.
It's decorative. It looks very attractive. But
Yeah.
I don't think it has any retroreflectivity like a stop
Have you
sign.
seen examples in other communities that would deploy that?
Yes.
Yeah.
How is it typically deployed?
Usually on the sign it says "Welcome to Sunnyvale," "Welcome to Palo Alto," "Welcome," on El Camino.
Okay, so
not
pretty
bike
standard
friendly.
locations
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. And we don't have, unfortunately, here in Gilroy, a major entry feature sign wall where you would
Right.
have Chamber of Commerce and the Lions Club and all the placards that we just don't have.
Doesn't exist yet.
Just don't have.
Drive a little, save a lot, right? Huh?
All right. Any members from the public that wish to comment? All right. So I don't think we need any motion or recommend. This is just information that'll be brought back when Gary needs it. Good. All right. Next up, grant opportunities discussion. So this is just a receive and report. And just more of like general information. We have not talked about grants for quite a while, actually since last March, when we were going through the Bay Area Air Management Quality District. But you can find the grants on our strategic plan, and what we try to do is basically identify them. They all come around every year, sometimes multiple times a year. Sometimes there's different openings throughout the year. And so what we try to do to help staff out and to educate us, because when I came on the commission and a couple of us, we thought like, whoa, you should be going after every grant. And so it's a kind of an opportunity for you to click on the link and look how long it takes and the process and the staff time and what you get in return for that. So normally what we do, like for instance on this one specifically, the urban greening that we had, it's a state grant. There is no match, no matching amount for it, and it's important to know whether it's a match or not match, because if it's a match of like $1 million, then the city has to come up with $1 million. You see what I'm saying? And then the other important feature of it is whether it's competitive or not. So it doesn't mean that everybody that's going to spend all their time to get it is going to grab it. This one is This one is competitive. The urban greening.
I'm not sure I've seen a non-competitive grant. I mean,
The only one I can, yeah.
there's
Just-
non-competitive grants out there, but then the money is just distributed based on your population, basically.
And it could literally be like $1,500. Like America Walks does like a community college walkability thing, and they give grants out for like $1,500. So
More bike racks.
yeah, right. And for us, that's easy. Though we can write a letter of support. I'm sure it'll happen pretty fast. That's really all I had on that, Patrick, or anybody else. If there's any questions you have about grants, this is the perfect opportunity to bring it
Why
up.
don't you reiterate what you said? Because I think to get in the bicycle-friendly community nomination. That was a pretty long grant, right? I remember, wasn't that?
It wasn't a grant, it was an
I mean, well,
application,
but,
but it was very extensive.
It was. I mean, so that's
Very
a lot of time.
extensive.
A lot of it had to be answered, I think, by Gary's team.
It was.
So, you know, it just
And
takes
the
a lot
police
of time.
and police department.
Yeah. So again, when you think about these and you look at them, just be cognizant that unfortunately, as much as we'd like to be able to help out, or I should say, Zach likes to write. So much like we just sometimes we can't, and it has to be the city. So you're taking staff time. So that's all.
What types of consideration are we lending when we pursue a grant?
Provide a little bit of parameters.
Yeah.
For the benefit of the commission. We as staff, we're short-staffed. It's myself and one other assistant engineer comprise the traffic division, and so we've got a lot of things going on, which isn't to say that going out and trying to obtain money isn't a huge priority for us, but we want to be very selective in where we go out and do that. So what I reported, I think, last year when this question came up, was a couple different criteria. I'd prefer not to go out for small amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to go out, let's go out for a big amount of money. We got to make sure that we are cognizant of the match. A lot of these grants have 10 to 15% city match. So if we go out and ask for $200,000, all of a sudden I've got to try and figure out where to come up with $20,000 to $25,000. And unfortunately, the city doesn't have a flush of funds to be able to do that without having to go to council or budget for it
Without
during
the
a
data
budget
to
process.
back it
Well, without the data to back it up, yeah. So being cognizant of that, the level of effort to actually apply for the grant is critical. State, I would prefer over federal. Federal always has a lot of restrictions and strings tied. Whether or not a grant requires regular reporting and an annual report afterwards, a lot of the grants will ask for quarterly updates.
So additional overhead.
Well, it's just time consuming.
Exactly.
If they're wanting, okay, we got $100,000 and we're going to spend $75,000 over the next 10 years reporting out on a quarterly basis about the progress and doing counts to justify the money we receive, it's not worth it. And so we've really got to be aware of that. And there are some grants that are out there that I've had issues with. We've got $15,000 and I had to spend 45 hours of staff time over a year doing quarterly reports to justify that money coming in to the agency. It just when all was said and done, it just wasn't worth it. What are some of the other criteria? State over federal, larger over smaller, match versus non-match.
And then competitive or not.
And then
you wanted to
competitive
know.
versus not competitive. A lot of these are, especially at the regional level, are extremely competitive. The federal Safe Routes to School program, grant application process, there's very few within the state that even get it, and usually it goes to the really, really big cities who have the huge staffs to commit the time and resources to it. The ATP grants are another one. I had a staff, we got, when I was in my previous jurisdiction, we got $2 million worth of grant for some Safe Routes to School improvements, actually. It was federal, it had a huge process. There was probably an 1.5 to 2 inch thick application that was put together, probably over a 6-month period, 200 hours worth of staff time to put it together. Now, we got the $2 million, but huge amount of strings attached, very strict in terms of the guidelines, how you use the money. I had to fly down to Riverside to get a change in scope at the CTC. It was just big pain in the butt. Last I had heard this, and we got the grant funding 3 years ago, they were still having a problem spending it because of all the restrictions on it. And so it's just really being aware of going in with eyes open and what to expect. There's no free money, as they say.
Well, I've learned that. I majored in economics.
There you go. So just to be aware
Thanks
of
for that. So is that something you'll be drafting up for us to formally peruse?
Not necessarily, and I don't want to make it formal. I'd like to have it be informal. So from my perspective, if you guys see something that makes sense to you
So
and you'd
case
like
by
us to take a look at it, send it my way.
Okay.
And I'll take a look at it and I'll evaluate it and I'll let you know honestly what I think about it.
And does anybody else here already have a process of looking for grants, or are you familiar with certain grants that would be?
So if you go to our strategic plan,
Yeah.
on there, and actually I just updated it, and I'll bring it back next month for you guys. I updated some of the dates and links. It's about 2 pages worth of grants.
Fantastic. I think
Yeah.
it's worth our time just to go through those and see what we can narrow down.
Definitely. And here's some things that you can do to help. So last year, we applied for the Bay Area Air Management Quality. This is a perfect example of how we can work together. We brought it up it was something that Gary was already familiar with, and so what we can do as commissioners is the first thing they needed to notice for this one specific grant was to fill in gaps in the network. Well, if you don't even know what the gaps in the network are yet, then somehow you need to figure it out. And so what we can do as bike riders and advocates, I literally went out over 3 days and rode the entire bike map.
That was super helpful. Thank you.
Right? And so what that does is that shows initiative on our part that, hey, what do you need? I'll go out and do it today. You don't have to pay a consultant thousands of dollars to get out there and do it.
Right.
You know, I'll do it. And we came back and we actually created, so the map that you find on the website now is an actual real updated website, bike map. And hopefully in the next couple of months, you'll hear some positive news come out of what that culmination of us writing letter support, writing and then staff time on there to see what we got.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, look at the strategic plan and that'll help you out. And that's, carry that on into the future. Like I'm saying, that one of the biggest things that we're worried about is like succession planning of everything that we've done with Safe Routes to School and working well in the community and with staff is to keep that going. Don't just be up here to, ask for stuff. At the same time, be like, what do you want me to do? I'll do it.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. I worked at a company that was mostly 100% data. No decision was made without the right data in place. So I believe that we can put a structure in place here where we can source the data, prioritize our projects, and align those with Gary's list as it stands.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely see how much impact we can make, at least in my tenure here, 4 years.
Yeah, nice.
And to that extent, there is a new grant, some information that came out just today. I found in my emails from late last week with regards to Measure B funding for bike and pedestrian education and encouragement program. So we're looking into that, seeing if there's an opportunity for us to get some money.
Nice.
I wanted to mention, sometimes we can connect other people with grants too. Like Chad worked a year or two ago to make sure that the school district got connected with a specialized writing for focus grant, and got a PE teacher to agree to do most of the work on that and get the program going. So now Sojourn Middle School has a bike program as part of their PE classes. And the superintendent was so impressed that she encouraged the principals of other middle schools to apply. And
we didn't hear that.
Yeah, we're
nice.
We're doing anything we can to support them, but really we can't do much other than advocate, communicate, help them know what to do, and write a letter of support. But see, the school district or the school can handle that. We can't do that as a city or as a BPAC, but we can advocate and we can help them and support them.
We could provide the framework and the resources, and it's also true. I was reviewing the charter. It's possible to create sort of like an informal subcommittee, even from a committee.
Sure.
So we would be able to at least do some sort of semi-official outreach in our capacity in relation to the city, but just provide that feedback as we see it from the city and through Gary, and also maybe just give some literature and just a scale program.
Yeah.
I can see that being a good way forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Any members from the public that wish to comment? No? All right. Anything else from us? Okay. All right. So next up is correspondence. For everybody's information, these are things that we end up finding on either meetings or connections we have. So anything could go in here. You could put in, someone's got a bike party in Morgan Hill, or a bike party that they're doing in Gilroy, or whatever. Anything that's good for the general public. These are correspondence for not only for us to see as a commission, but for the public to see when they read the agenda packets. So that's pretty much where these came from. One like the Tierra Bella, they don't actually have an official flyer, so I kind of just like cut and pasted, put some general information that's good or whatever, and popped it in there. And there's no action that you need to take on correspondence. And then next up is oral reports by commission members. I'll let Chad Reeder start it off, and then I'll follow it
So
up.
the person went to the bathroom. Went to come back.
Huh?
I want to Miller Levy Trail update.
So, here I'll take a minute to talk about commission members, the oral report. So what these are is a chance for you to a chance for you to summarize what you've been working on. You don't have to do it at all, but it's just it's an informal way to to bring stuff up. There's not supposed to be any discussion on any of the items. So if there ends up being items of discussion, then what you would do is you would wait until the agenda items for the next meeting and then just agendize it. Pretty simple stuff. Do you want Sean to start?
Yeah, all I was gonna say is I have doesn't want to come. I was just actually suggest Patrick go first, just to, you don't have to give us what you're working on, but I didn't, maybe I missed it. I don't know anything about you, Patrick.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
You're new. Why did you join the commission? Maybe what got you excited that you wanted to join the commission? So.
Sure. I've lived in Gilroy since 2010. I've had family in the area even longer. I met Lionel while working at Facebook. He let me know that he was involved with a community, a lot of passion, some good members, and a good mandate for the community. So he brought me up to speed on what you guys were doing and how it was really doing a positive effect to Gilroy. For a long time, I've wanted to give something back. I've been starting a lot of other things in my life, including my own business and a new job now. So it felt like it'd be fitting to get into politics this time, especially when there's a lot of apathy and people don't really want to give back. It's a testament right now that most of these committees are empty or just barely alive. So yeah, this is me. I'm Patrick. I'm an avid scooterer. I used to be an avid biker. Did like 30 miles every weekend. Knees gave up. So I will do the pedestrian and anything else that's just below bicycling. And I know the rest of the city extremely well. I've traveled most of the city with my daughter on the weekends. I think we've done probably 10 miles one day on a scooter.
Nice.
So I know every single road intersection that needs work, every single kind of sidewalk that could need improvement. I know the walkability score of this neighborhood, and it's fairly poor at this time, and that's to be expected given the neglect for quite some time. Also with the new development in this community. So that's me in a nutshell.
Excellent.
And I'm hoping to at least find different ways to make an impact on this committee. I want to bring data into this committee. I want to see if we can leverage part of Facebook's infrastructure and advocate Gary right here to maybe get a budget for marketing so we can market our own city website and get people targeted in and caring and understanding what we're trying to propose.